Hey everybody, well, welcome back to my channel again here at Poor Redneck World. Well, gonna be doing a little maintenance on Project Lazy Lariat here. It is October 12th, 2019, and right now it's about 55 or 56 degrees outside, but boy, last night, apparently Oklahoma weather has decided to jump straight from summer directly to winter, which is a concern for me. Now, it's been a while since I posted any videos on this project or on any others. For all of y'all that are still my subscribers out there, I do apologize. Things in my life have been such that it has become difficult in days of late to have money, time, and effort to post videos, but life has to go on. So here's what I'm up to, and because I'm not filming with a camera per se, this is a cheap Walmart phone to replace my recent one. It's been destroyed, so I can't exactly do work and film and do all that all at one time. So I'm just kind of bringing you up to date really as to what's going on here. The engine is in. It's been in for a while, actually. Donor motor from a local salvage. And motor runs really well. So it's in. Truck is tagged on the road, insurance, all that good stuff there. I've already been driving it around a little bit. It does need some work before winter really sets in. What I'm getting ready to do here is antifreeze. Now, since we got a train coming in, so I guess we'll go ahead and move on into the cab, if for no other reason to hide from the sound a little bit. Always seems to happen when you're trying to make a video. Okay, so we're going to warm this thing up here while we talk. Alright, got to shut the door here since we got freight train coming through. Okay. Trying to hide from the glare, but that ain't gonna work. Okay, so after the engine went in, I found out that I had to replace radiator and freeze plug. Bought a radiator off of eBay and put the freeze plug in, all that good stuff. Ran out of money, literally didn't have money to put antifreeze in it, so it's running on water right now. Obviously with winter closely approaching, temperatures last night dropped into a balmy 35 degrees here in Oklahoma, by God, Homa. That's only a few degrees away from freezing. So I am aware that you need to have more than one evening of freezing temperatures before it will actually freeze the block or the radiator and do any damage. At least that's from my personal experience. But I am the kind of person that if I forget, or if I don't do it right away, I will forget, and I don't want to forget. So I've got me 3 jugs of coolant, and no, they're not here with me right now. Because of the cold temperatures last night, the coolant was too cold. I did not want to put cold coolant into a hot engine. That is never a good thing to do. Looks like that train's going to make it through most of the way without blaring its horn. That's good. That means I can step out, which is good for me anyway. Pop the hood. Here's another little thing. I got to replace the door hinge pins. This is kind of a side note here. I believe it's the bottom pin. The pin on the door hinge is so wore that it allows the door up and down movement. I don't know if you can see that on camera or not, but with that up and down movement, you can't just shut the door. It leaves a gap, water gets in. That's why the floor is wet. I'm gonna have to get a wet dry vac and dry that out, but you gotta kind of lift up on it and ease it shut. Even then, you don't always get it. But that's another project as soon as I get something to cut that hinge pin with. So the coolant that I have, which is actually 2 gallons of Prestone antifreeze, straight antifreeze coolant, and 1 gallon of 50-50. That's 50% antifreeze and 50% water. And yes, I know that most people say, I'll run, 50-50 all the way, half water, half antifreeze. To be honest, I usually run straight antifreeze in almost everything I own, except for the car I'm driving now. And that's because I haven't serviced it yet. And I've never had any problems running straight antifreeze in anything year-round. I've never had them get too hot. Never had anything go wrong with them. That being said, why did I grab two jugs of straight antifreeze and 1 jug of 50-50? Well, simple. Somebody put it on the wrong shelf. Didn't look at the label, didn't look at the color of the lid. I just saw the yellow bottle and grabbed 3 of them, and it's supposed to be straight antifreeze on the top shelves and 50-50 on the bottom, and I grabbed from the top, and somebody either misstocked or put it back where it wasn't supposed to be. So I've got 2 gallons of straight and 1 of 50-50. So anyway, the jugs of coolant were too cold. According to my temperature gauge, they were around 38 degrees, and that's too cold to put into a hot engine once it warms up. So I took them and put them in the bathtub and ran them a hot bath. And yes, that sounds a little odd, but I've done it before. Just let it sit in hot bath for about 30 or 40 minutes. That saps away all the cold out of them, brings them up to at least body temperature, if not 100, 110 degrees. And that will do 2 things. One, you're not going to crack a block or a head or distort a head gasket, which obviously you don't want to do. And number 2, you should be able to keep that thermostat from snapping shut, allow your antifreeze to circulate real fast. So the goal is, before temperatures drop down again tonight, to get the straight water out of here and get some antifreeze in. And then at least I'll know that I'm not going to worry about freezing the block, cracking the block, and doing all this one-handed is not easy. There we go. So warming up a little. So after getting the motor in and going to Amazon and buying myself a OBD1 digital Ford reader tool and hooking it up and pulling codes, I found that I had a plethora of codes. Now, 2 of them I expected. They're EGR related, and that's because the EGR currently is bypassed. The hose is crimped shut because there was an issue there and couldn't get it off of the manifold. So we just crimped it for the time being. We're not in an emission state, so it's really not that big of a deal, but if I want that code to go away, I'm going to have to get me a Ford EGR breather hose and get all that hooked up. So I expected EGR codes, but I've also got a code, and I'm trying to pull from memory here because I don't have my Ford reader, and I don't have the code book with it in front of me. But one of them has to do with signal from sprout weak, ignition sprout weak. And I'm thinking sprout, from what I remember reading in a Chilton's repair book somewhere, I believe that's referring to the ignition control module. And that's just a little electric dually whopper that goes on the distributor and basically takes the place of your points and condenser system of the real old style stuff. And I've replaced one of them dilly whoppers on a GM vehicle. On a GM, it's in the distributor. It's in the distributor cap, I should say. It's actually on top of the distributor cap. But on these old early model Fords, they're like on the distributor itself. I don't think they're too big of a deal to replace, but they're about $35–40. I don't have it just now, so I'm waiting for money to come in. So that's one code I got to deal with. Another has to do with the shifter selector switch. It's not adjusted correctly or something. Now, I've done a little bit of research on the old interwebs, and it suggested that that switch can cause the transmission to shift hard, especially once it's warmed up. Now, I've never had to replace a selector position switch on a transmission. So before it gets too awful cold, I'm wanting to get this truck into a garage, but that's a different thing right now. My garage is kind of non-operational right now. Kind of flooded, sort of. So I can't exactly get in there and get underneath the truck. So anything I do, I got to do outside. So I got to figure out about that selector switch. And then there's another one that has to do with torque clutch excessive clutch slippage. And that one I don't know. That one I'm going to have to do a little bit of more research on the old interwebs and find out exactly what the HE double hockey sticks that means. But I'm not familiar with that one, and I'm not familiar with selector position switch. So gonna have to do a little bit of learning on it. Aside from that, the truck runs and drives. I've taken it to Arkansas a couple of times. I know a lot of people are probably staring at that driver's front headlight. I'm going to be replacing eventually that entire headlight assembly, and I need to do a replacement fender. If I can point at it, right there, replacement fender. And I know where to get all the parts. I just not going to go into debt to do it. So when I have money, it'll get a fender, it'll get a headlight. In the meantime, they both come on when you pull out the switch. I just need a little bit of Oklahoma duct tape hold the switch, hold the headlight in place. But it runs, drives, does seem to burn a little bit more fuel than I'd like, and I don't know if that has to do with the timing. The story on the timing is when my friend installed the engine for me, I was at work, he more or less just stabbed the distributor and it didn't start the first time, so he pulled it out and adjusted it, stuck it back in, and it runs and drives, so he tightened it down and left it at that. Now I can't put a timing light on it because it does not have the correct harmonic balancer on it with timing marks. And I have not gotten around yet to pulling the harmonic balancer off of that engine and sticking the harmonic balancer on it that I got from my original 91 engine. In the meantime, I'm going to dead time it by eyeball and kind of see where it's happy and go from there. But a lot of that work is not going to get done right now, mainly because time and money are an issue. It runs, it drives, does what I needed to do. I do need to replace the door hinge pins on the driver's side only, so that I can shut that door fully, so the water will quit getting in the cab. I need to check the differential oil. I need to check the brakes on all four corners. They feel okay, but I've never touched the brakes or the diff since I bought the truck. I do need to patchwork the exhaust system together because the exhaust pipe stops about right there. That's about where the exhaust pipe stops, and then it's just a gap, a hanging down pipe hanging there, not attached to nothing. So I need to patchwork that together, so at least the exhaust pipe that's in the back of the truck is more than an ornament. That would be nice. It's not ready for daily driving yet. It's got a bounce in the front end, and I believe that is due to the tires that are on it. I've already looked at the suspension and the bearings in front, and nothing appears to be loose or excessively out of whack, so I don't think I've got a problem in the suspension. So it's got to be in the tires themselves. And again, that all comes down to getting the time and being able to work with my achy, hurting body to be able to swap everything around and see what that does. But we'll get her. But anyway, just wanted to do a fast update. I'm going to let this truck warm up, and then I'm going to drain it, and then go get the coolant, put it in, and away she goes. So I'll see you on the next video when I get it done and have the time and energy and all that to shoot another one. In the meantime, thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.